A black waitress jumped into a freezing river to save a drowning boy, unaware the child was the son of a Korean Mafia boss. The morning mist hung low over Seattle's waterfront, turning the world into something soft and dreamlike. Lana Morrison walked along the harbor path at 6:47 a.m., coffee thermos in hand, earbuds playing the same playlist she'd listened to every morning for the past 2 years. The routine was comforting: wake at 6:15, quick workout, walk the scenic route to Harborview Cafe, where her shift started at 7:30. 26 years old, bachelor's degree in elementary education she'd never used, working as a waitress because student loans didn't pay themselves, and teaching jobs in Seattle were scarce as hen's teeth. Her mother back in Louisiana kept asking when she'd move home, start a real career, stop wasting her potential serving coffee to strangers. Soon, Lana always said, just need to save a bit more, pay down the debt, get my feet under me. Soon had stretched into 3 years now, and temporary had become her entire life. The harbor path curved along the waterfront, crossing over a small pedestrian bridge that spanned the inlet where fishing boats docked. Usually deserted at this hour, which was why Lana loved it. Just her, the water, and the slowly waking city. But today, someone else was there. A little boy stood at the bridge railing, maybe 5 years old, dressed in expensive clothes. Designer jacket, tiny sneakers that probably cost more than Lana's rent. He was alone, leaning dangerously far over the railing, trying to see something in the water below. Lana pulled out her earbuds, instinct prickling. Hey, buddy, where are your parents? The boy looked up, and Lana's heart clenched. He was beautiful, Korean, with wide dark eyes and a face that would break hearts someday. But right now, those eyes were wet with tears and his lip trembled. I dropped Mr. Whiskers, he said in perfect English, pointing down at the water. My stuffed cat. Daddy gave him to me, and I dropped him, and now he's in the water, and I can't reach. Okay, it's all right, Lana said, moving closer slowly, carefully, the way she'd learned in her child development classes. Let's step back from the edge, okay? We'll figure out how to get Mr. Whiskers. But the boy was crying harder now, leaning further, little hands stretching toward the water, where Lana could see a bedraggled stuffed cat floating. I need him. Mommy gave him to me before she went to heaven, and Daddy said I should take care of him, and I dropped him. Hey, sweetheart, it's okay. We'll get him back, I promise. Just step away from the... It happened in the space between heartbeats. The boy leaned further, little feet slipping on the wet railing, and then he was falling. Not into Lana's reaching arms, but over the side, into the water below with a splash that seemed impossibly loud in the morning quiet. Lana didn't think, didn't calculate, didn't consider that the water was freezing, that the current was strong, that she was fully dressed with her phone and wallet and everything she owned in her pockets. She just ran and jumped. The water hit like a physical blow, cold driving the air from her lungs in a painful rush. For a moment, Lana was disoriented. Which way was up? Where was the boy? Was she going to die trying to save a child she didn't even know? Then training kicked in. Years of swim team in high school, lifeguard certifications she'd gotten for summer jobs. Lana surfaced, gasping, and spotted the boy, already going under, little arms flailing uselessly, weighted down by his heavy jacket. I've got you, she shouted, though he probably couldn't hear. Lana swam hard, fighting the current, her clothes dragging at her like hands pulling her down. The boy went under again, and terror spiked through her. Was she going to be too late? Was she going to watch a child drown right in front of her? Her hand closed around fabric. She yanked hard, pulling the boy's head above water, wrapping an arm around his chest in the proper hold she'd learned years ago. He coughed and sputtered and cried, but he was breathing. He was alive. It's okay, I've got you. Just relax, let me do the work. Lana kicked hard, angling toward the dock. The current fought her, and her muscles screamed, and the cold was starting to penetrate deep into her bones. But she held on, fought the water, refused to let go of this child who'd somehow become her entire world in the space of minutes. They reached the dock pilings, and Lana grabbed hold with her free hand, gasping. The boy was crying in her arms, shaking violently, but safe. Safe. It's okay, she kept saying, over and over like a prayer. You're okay. I've got you. You're safe. She heard shouting from above, multiple voices urgent and panicked, footsteps thundering on the dock, and then hands were reaching down, pulling the boy up and away from her, and Lana let him go because she had to, because her arms were shaking too hard to hold on anymore. Someone grabbed her arms, hauling her up onto the dock with strength that suggested military or police training. Lana collapsed onto the wood, coughing up water she'd swallowed, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Seo Jun! Seo Jun! The voice was male, deep, cracking with fear. Korean accent over perfect English. Are you hurt? Can you breathe? Talk to me. Daddy, the boy sobbed. I dropped Mr. Whiskers and I tried to get him, and I fell, and the lady saved me. Through her blurred vision, Lana saw the man holding the boy. Tall for a Korean man, maybe 6 feet, with sharp features and dark eyes currently wide with terror. He was dressed in an expensive suit, now soaked where he'd grabbed his son, surrounded by other men in similar attire who were checking the boy over with professional efficiency. And Lana recognized him. She'd seen him at Harbor View Cafe at least a dozen times over the past few months. Always at the same corner booth, always surrounded by serious-looking men, speaking in low Korean that stopped whenever she approached with coffee refills. The owner, Mr. Park, always went pale when this man arrived, always comped his meals, always treated him with a deference that bordered on fear. Lana had asked once who he was. Mr. Park had given her a look that clearly said, "Don't ask questions you don't want answered," and changed the subject. But she'd heard whispers from other staff, something about the Park family, about Korean organized crime, about a man who was both respected and feared throughout Seattle's International District, and she'd just saved his son. You! The man, she thought someone had called him Jun once, turned to her, still holding his boy. You saved him. You jumped in after him. He was drowning, Lana managed through chattering teeth. I had to. Couldn't just watch. You could have died. The current, the cold. You could have died. His voice was strange, heavy with emotion she couldn't quite name. But you jumped anyway. Anyone would have. No, they wouldn't. He said it with absolute certainty, with the weight of someone who'd seen exactly how selfish people could be. Most people would have called for help, waited for professionals, protected themselves first. His eyes, dark and intense and currently shimmering with unshed tears, held hers. You didn't hesitate. You just saved him. One of the other men appeared with blankets, wrapping one around Seo Jun and another around Lana. Someone else was on the phone, speaking rapid Korean. The whole scene had the organized chaos of people trained for crisis response. We need to get them both warm, the first man said in English, clearly for Lana's benefit. Hypothermia risk. Boss, your car is 2 minutes away? Miss, what's your name? Jun asked, adjusting his grip on Seo Jun so the boy was tucked against his chest. Lana Morrison, who jumped into freezing water to save a stranger's child. Something shifted in his expression. Gratitude, yes, but also something deeper. Something that looked almost like reverence. I am Park Jun. This is my son, Seo Jun, and I owe you a debt I can never repay. You don't owe me anything. I just did what was right, which makes it all the more extraordinary. A sleek black SUV pulled up and Jun turned to his men. Jin Ho, take Miss Morrison to the hospital. Full examination, treatment for anything she needs. I'll take Seo Jun to Seattle Children's. I don't need a hospital, Lana protested. I'm fine, just cold. I need to get to work. Work can wait. Your health cannot. Jun's tone brooked no argument. Please, Lana Morrison, let me do this small thing. Let me ensure that the woman who saved my son's life is properly cared for. Lana wanted to argue, but she was shaking so hard she could barely stand, and her clothes were plastered to her skin, and when she tried to take a step, her knees buckled. Strong hands caught her. One of Jun's men, the one called Jinho. Easy, miss. Let's get you warmed up. Mr. Whiskers, Seo Jun said suddenly, face crumpling again. Daddy, the lady saved me, but Mr. Whiskers is still in the water. I'll get him, another man said immediately, already shrugging off his jacket. Boss, I'll retrieve the cat. And Lana watched, dazed and freezing, as a grown man in an expensive suit prepared to dive into the harbor to rescue a stuffed animal, all because a 5-year-old asked. The casual display of absolute loyalty and resources was dizzying. Lana Morrison, Jun said again, and something in the way he said her name made her pulse quicken, despite the cold. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, You saved the most precious thing in my world. I will never forget this. Then he was climbing into the SUV with Seo Jun, and Jin Ho was guiding Lana toward another vehicle, and everything became a blur of warmth and checking vitals, and doctors assuring her that, yes, she was fine, just cold and shocked, nothing that rest and warm clothes wouldn't fix. It wasn't until much later, when Lana was finally dry and warm, wearing hospital scrubs because her clothes were ruined, phone miraculously still working despite the swim, that the full weight of what had happened hit her. She'd saved a child's life. Park Hee-jun's child. A man who, if the whispers were true, was one of the most dangerous people in Seattle. And from the way he'd looked at her, with that intensity, that gratitude, that something else she couldn't quite name, Lana had the distinct feeling her life was about to get very, very complicated. The hospital released Lana with instructions to rest and stay warm. Jin Ho, who'd been unfailingly polite and professional, drove her home to her small studio apartment in Ballard, waited while she changed into dry clothes, and informed her that Mr. Park had already called her workplace to explain the situation. He did what? Lana asked, emerging from her bedroom in sweatpants and an oversized Howard University hoodie her dad had sent her. Explained that you performed a heroic rescue this morning and would be unable to work your shift. He also... Jin Ho paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. He ensured that your employer understands you're to take whatever time you need to recover. With pay, he can't just, I need that job. I can't afford... Miss Morrison, Mr. Park is very grateful for what you did. He wants to ensure you suffer no financial hardship as a result of your bravery. Jin Ho pulled an envelope from his jacket. This is to cover your lost wages, replacement of your ruined belongings, and any other expenses. It's not payment. You can't put a price on a child's life. It's just practical support. Lana opened the envelope and nearly dropped it. $10,000 in cash. I can't accept this. This is too much. Way too much. Mr. Park anticipated you might say that. He asked me to tell you that his son is worth more than all the money in the world. And this is merely a token, a gesture. Please accept it in the spirit it's offered. Pure gratitude. Lana stared at the money, mind reeling. $10,000. That would cover 3 months of rent, pay down a chunk of her student loans, give her breathing room she hadn't had in years. I don't want his money, she said, but even to her own ears, it sounded weak. Because she did want it, needed it, really. But accepting felt like crossing a line into something she didn't understand. Then think of it as compensation for your medical expenses, the cost of replacing your phone, your clothes, your shoes. You lost everything you were carrying when you jumped in the water. This simply makes you whole. Jin Ho's expression was kind. Miss Morrison, Mr. Park is not trying to buy your loyalty or compromise you. He's trying to say thank you in the only way he knows how. Let him. Lana looked at the money again, at this man who'd been nothing but respectful, at the reality of her situation. She was barely scraping by. This could change that. Okay, she heard herself say. Tell Mr. Park. Tell him thank you. For this, for everything. Jin Ho smiled, genuinely relieved. I will, he'll be pleased. And Miss Morrison, he'd very much like to thank you properly, in person. Perhaps dinner. Nothing formal. Just a chance for Seo Jun to see that you're all right, and for Mr. Park to express his gratitude appropriately. Dinner with a crime boss. That's not ominous at all. Jin Ho's smile didn't fade. Mr. Park is many things, miss. But with people he cares about, people who've proven their character, he's honorable, loyal, and protective. You saved his son. That puts you in a very select category of people he would never harm. And what category is that? Family. The word hung in the air, weighted with meaning Lana didn't fully understand. But something in the way Jin Ho said it, with such certainty, made her believe it. When? She asked. For dinner. Whenever you're ready. Tomorrow? This weekend? Mr. Park said to let you choose, to give you time to recover. Tomorrow, Lana decided before she could overthink it. Tomorrow evening. 7 p.m.? Perfect. I'll inform Mr. Park. He'll send a car for you at 6:30. Jin Ho headed for the door, then paused. Miss Morrison? What you did this morning, jumping in after a stranger's child without hesitation? That's rare. Extraordinary. Mr. Park sees that, values it. Whatever comes next, know that you have his complete respect and protection. Protection. The word should have been comforting. Instead, it made Lana wonder what she needed protection from. After Jin Ho left, Lana sat in her tiny apartment, still wrapped in her hoodie, staring at an envelope containing more money than she'd had at once in years. Her phone buzzed. Texts from co-workers asking if she was okay, her manager saying to take all the time she needed, which had definitely never been his attitude before, her mother asking why someone from Park International Holdings had called to assure the family that Lana was safe and being well cared for. Park International Holdings. That was new information. Apparently, Jun had legitimate business interests alongside whatever illegal operations the whispers suggested. Lana pulled up her laptop and did what she should have done months ago when she first noticed the intense, handsome Korean man who made Mr. Park nervous. She Googled Park Hee-jun. The results were illuminating. Public-facing image. Wealthy businessman, owner of multiple successful companies, philanthropist who donated millions to immigrant support organizations and children's charities. The photos showed him at galas and charity events, always impeccably dressed, sometimes with a small boy at his side. Dig deeper into the Korean language forums and community blogs she had to run through translation apps, and a different picture emerged. Whispers of the Park family's real business, protection services, import-export operations that didn't always stay within legal boundaries, a network of influence and power that stretched through Seattle's Korean community and beyond. But nothing violent, nothing explicitly criminal, just implications, suggestions, the kind of carefully maintained reputation that spoke of power wielded behind closed doors. And there, buried in a 3-year-old article from a Korean-American newspaper, Lana found the tragedy. Park Hee-jun's young wife, Min Seo, killed in a car accident. She'd been 23. They'd married young, him at 23, her at 19. Their son Seo Jun had been just 2 years old when his mother died. The article had a photo, a beautiful Korean woman with kind eyes, holding a toddler who had his father's smile. The caption mentioned that Min Seo had been heavily involved in community service, particularly programs supporting immigrant children and domestic violence survivors. A young love story cut short by tragedy. A man raising his son alone while running a complicated, possibly dangerous business. And now somehow, Lana had become entangled in their lives by doing nothing more than what her conscience demanded. She thought about canceling dinner, about putting distance between herself and this complicated, dangerous man, about going back to her safe, predictable life of serving coffee and avoiding risk. But she kept seeing Seo Jun's face, the terror in those dark eyes as he went under, the way he'd clung to her afterward, small body shaking with cold and fear. The way Hee-jun had held his son like he was the entire world. One dinner, to make sure the boy was okay, to accept proper thanks, then back to normal life. Lana told herself that all evening, through a hot shower in early bed and restless sleep full of dreams, where she was swimming and swimming, but never quite reaching the boy drowning just ahead. She almost believed it. The car that arrived Tuesday evening at precisely 6:30 was sleek, expensive, and driven by a different man than Jin Ho. This one younger, with a kind smile and an introduction as Tae-min, Mr. Park's driver. Lana had agonized over what to wear, finally settling on a simple navy dress that was nice without being fancy, appropriate without suggesting this was a date, because it wasn't a date. It was dinner with a grateful father, that's all. The drive took them out of the city into the hills overlooking Puget Sound, where houses became estates and driveways required security gates. Tae-min pulled up to a modern masterpiece, glass and steel and clean lines, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering breathtaking views of the water. "Mr. Park is waiting inside," Tae-min said, opening her door with practiced courtesy. "Welcome, Miss Morrison." Lana's palms were sweating as she approached the front door. Before she could knock, it opened, and Hee-jun stood there. He looked different than at the dock. Still tall, still imposing, but dressed casually in dark slacks, in a soft gray sweater that made him seem more human, less intimidating. And his smile when he saw her transformed his entire face from stern to warm. "Lana Morrison," he said, and again something about the way he said her name made her pulse quicken. "Thank you for coming. Please, come in. The interior of the house was stunning, modern and clean but warm, with Korean artwork on the walls and family photos scattered throughout. Lana caught glimpses of a younger Hee-jun with his late wife, of Seo-jun at various ages, of what looked like extended family gatherings. Seo-jun is in the living room, Hee-jun said, guiding her through the space. He's been asking about you constantly since yesterday. When is the brave lady coming? Is she okay? Can we say thank you? I think he's worried he didn't thank you properly. They entered a spacious living room where Seo-jun sat on the floor, building something elaborate with Legos. When he saw Lana, his whole face lit up. You came! Daddy said you'd come, but I was worried you'd be too scared of the water now and wouldn't want to see me. Because I made you jump in. The words tumbled out in a rush. Lana knelt beside him immediately. Hey, buddy, of course I came. And I'm not scared of the water. I'm a really good swimmer, remember? That's how I could help you. You saved me, Seo-jun said, voice going quiet and serious. Daddy says you're a hero. That you didn't even think. You just jumped in because I needed help. Well, you needed help, so I helped. That's what people do for each other. Daddy says not everyone does that. That most people would be too scared or too busy. Seo-jun looked up at her with those impossibly large dark eyes. But you weren't. You saved me and got Mr. Whiskers back. One of Daddy's men got him. He's all clean now. And you're here even though you probably think we're scary. The kid's perception was sharp. Lana glanced at Hee-jun, who was watching them with an expression she couldn't quite read. You're not scary, Lana said to Seo-jun. You're a little boy who had an accident and got scared. That's not scary, that's normal. But Daddy's scary sometimes. People are scared of him at school when he comes to pick me up. They whisper and look worried. Seo-jun said it matter-of-factly, like this was just a normal part of his life. Are you scared of Daddy? Lana looked up at Hee-jun again. He stood very still, clearly curious about her answer, but not interfering. Your daddy's impressive, Lana said carefully. He's clearly very powerful and important. But scared? No, I'm not scared of him. He loves you so much, and anyone who loves their child that much can't be all that scary. Jun's expression softened completely. Seo-jun, why don't you show Miss Lana what you're building? Then we'll have dinner. For the next 20 minutes, Lana sat on the floor with Seo-jun, admiring his Lego construction, apparently a dragon castle, though it looked more like an abstract sculpture, answering his endless questions about whether she could swim in the ocean, if she'd ever saved anyone else, whether she had kids of her own. No kids, Lana admitted, but I always wanted to be a teacher. I love children. Why aren't you a teacher then? Seo-jun asked with the blunt curiosity of 5-year-olds. It's complicated. Sometimes grown-up life doesn't work out the way you plan. That's sad. You'd be a good teacher. You're nice and you don't talk down to me like some grown-ups do. Seo-jun went back to his Legos. Daddy says we should always be kind to people who are kind to us, so I'm being kind to you because you saved my life. Lana's heart melted a little. Well, I appreciate that. You're a very thoughtful kid. Dinner was served in a dining room that managed to be both elegant and comfortable. The meal was Korean. Hee-jun had mentioned wanting to share his culture, and absolutely delicious. Bulgogi, kimchi, jafkai, banchan dishes covering the table in colorful abundance. This is incredible, Lana said after her first bite. Did you cook this? I did, Hee-jun said, and there was quiet pride in his voice. My wife taught me. She said the Seo-jun should grow up eating homemade Korean food, knowing his heritage. After she died, I had to learn quickly. It's become a way to stay connected to her. Mommy was the best cook, Seo-jun added, mouthful. Daddy's pretty good now, but Mommy was better. She made special yugaijang that was spicy but also sweet, and nobody makes it like her. Jun's expression went distant, sad. She had a gift for balancing flavors, for making people feel at home with her food. She sounds wonderful, Lana said gently. Seo-jun, your mommy must have been very special. She was. Daddy says I have her smile and her kindness. Seo-jun looked between them. Daddy's kind too, but people don't see it because he has to be tough for work. But he's really nice. He reads me stories every night and checks for monsters under my bed, even though we both know there aren't any. And he lets me pick the music in the car, even when I want to listen to the Frozen soundtrack for the millionth time. June's ears went slightly red. Jun, Miss Lana doesn't need to hear about. I think it's sweet, Lana interrupted, smiling. My dad used to let me play the same Destiny's Child CD on repeat for our entire road trip to Disney World. Good dads do things like that. Are you close to your parents? June asked. Jin, Home mentioned someone from my office called them to assure them you were safe. I hope that wasn't overstepping. No, it was thoughtful. They would have worried. Lana took another bite of bulgogi, organizing her thoughts. I'm close with my family. My parents are still in Louisiana, Baton Rouge. I have 2 older brothers who give me endless grief about being the baby. We talk most days even though they think I'm wasting my potential serving coffee in Seattle. Are you wasting your potential? June's tone was curious, not judgmental. Lana shrugged. I wanted to be a teacher, elementary school, but jobs are competitive and I had loans to pay and life got in the way. The cafe was supposed to be temporary. That was 3 years ago. You'd be an amazing teacher, June declared. You explain things good and you don't get impatient when kids ask lots of questions. Thank you, sweetie. That's very kind. They talked through dinner, easy conversation that flowed naturally despite the strange circumstances. June told elaborate stories about his school, private, expensive, with a focus on bilingual education. His friends, equally privileged children of Seattle's elite. His favorite subjects, art and storytelling. June added details, watching his son with such obvious love, it made Lana's chest ache. This was a man who'd built his entire life around protecting and nurturing his child. Whatever else he was, criminal, businessman, dangerous man, he was first and foremost a devoted father. After dinner, Jun asked if Lana would read him a bedtime story. Jun, Miss Lana is our guest. We can't ask her to. June started. I'd love to, Lana interrupted. If that's okay with you. Something passed between them, a moment of understanding, of Jun seeing that she genuinely wanted to spend time with his son, not just fulfill an obligation. Of course, he said softly. Jun, show Miss Lana to your room. Pick one story. Jun's room was a perfect blend of childhood wonder and tasteful design. Toys organized neatly, books lining shelves, artwork clearly his own, framed on the walls. One wall was dedicated to photos of his mother. Minacio smiling, Minacio holding baby Jun, Minacio and June looking impossibly young and in love. That's Mommy, Jun said, following her gaze. Daddy says it's important I remember her even though I was really little when she went to heaven. So we have lots of pictures and he tells me stories about her all the time. Your daddy's right. Your mommy should be remembered. Jun climbed into bed, a race car frame that was adorable and very 5-year-old, and handed Lana a well-worn copy of Where the Wild Things Are. This was Mommy's favorite, he explained. She said it's about being brave even when you're scared, and finding your way home even when you're lost. Lana settled on the edge of the bed and read, putting on different voices for the wild things, making Jun giggle. When she finished, he was drowsy, fighting sleep but clearly losing the battle. Miss Lana, he mumbled, thank you for saving me, and for reading to me, and for not being scared of Daddy or thinking our family is weird. Your family isn't weird, sweetie. Your family is... Lana paused, looking for the right words. Your family is special. Different, maybe, but full of love. That's what matters. Do you think you'll come back? To visit? Daddy seemed really happy tonight. He doesn't smile like that usually. Only when it's me and him and nobody's watching. Maybe, if your daddy invites me. He will. He told Uncle Jin-ho that you were extraordinary. I don't know what that means, but it sounded good. Lana's heart did something complicated. Extraordinary just means special. Different in a good way. Like you jumped in the water without even thinking. That's extraordinary. Jun's eyes were closing. I think you're extraordinary too. By the time Lana left the room, the boy was asleep, small face peaceful. She found Jun waiting in the hallway, expression soft. He fell asleep mid-sentence, didn't he? Jun said, not really a question. He fought it hard, but yeah, out like a light. Thank you for reading to him, for being so natural with him. Jun gestured toward the living room. Would you like coffee? Tea? I'd like to talk if you have time. Lana should have said no, should have left, maintained distance, kept her life separate from his, but she found herself nodding. They settled in the living room with tea, a delicate Korean blend that tasted like flowers and comfort. For a moment, they sat in silence, and Lana noticed details she'd missed before. The way Hee-jun's whole body was oriented toward the hallway where his son slept, the careful organization that spoke of a single parent managing alone, the photos that showed a man who'd built his entire life around protecting one small boy. I need to explain something, Hee-jun said finally, about who I am, what I do. You've been extraordinarily gracious, but I know you must have questions. I Googled you, Lana admitted, found the public persona, successful businessman, philanthropist, and the whispers underneath about the Park family's real business. He nodded, unsurprised. And what do those whispers say? That your family runs protection services, import operations, that you have influence and power throughout Seattle's Korean community, that people respect you and fear you. All true. Hee-jun met her eyes directly. My grandfather came to America with nothing, built a network to protect Korean immigrants when the law wouldn't. My father expanded it, made it profitable, pushed into operations that weren't always legal. I inherited all of that at 25 when he died. Do you hurt people? The directness of the question seemed to surprise him. I protect my people. Sometimes that requires force, but I don't enjoy violence. I try to handle conflicts with negotiation, with influence, with making it more profitable for rivals to cooperate than to fight. But if negotiation fails, then I do what's necessary. I won't lie to you, Lana. My hands aren't clean. I've made decisions, given orders that resulted in people getting hurt. Not killed. I don't run that kind of organization, but hurt, warned off, made to understand that my people are protected. Lana absorbed this. Why are you telling me this? You could have kept it vague. Let me believe the businessman image. Because you saved my son. Because Seo-jun clearly adores you. Because he paused, seemed to gather courage. Because I'd like to see you again. And I refuse to build anything on lies or half-truths. You deserve to know exactly who you'd be associating with. You want to see me again? Yes, very much. Hee-jun's voice was quiet but certain. Lana, I haven't been interested in anyone since my wife died. Haven't wanted to be. My world is complicated and dangerous, and bringing someone into it felt impossible and unfair. But then you jumped into freezing water without hesitation to save my son. Risked your life for a stranger's child because it was the right thing to do. And I found myself thinking about you constantly, wondering about the woman with such immediate courage, wanting to know her better. Lana's pulse hammered. Hee-jun, I'm a waitress with student loan debt and a studio apartment in Ballard. She gestured around at the house, at the evidence of wealth and power. You're this. We're from completely different worlds. Min Seo was a volunteer at an immigrant support center when I met her. I was 22, she was 18. Her family thought I was dangerous. Mine thought she was too innocent for my world. We married anyway because none of that mattered compared to how we felt. And she died. Doesn't that prove everyone was right? That your world is too dangerous? Pain flashed across Hee-jun's face. She died in a car accident. Random, tragic, nothing to do with my business. But you're right that my world carries risks, which is why I'm being honest. If you want nothing to do with me after tonight, I'll understand completely. I'll make sure you're protected. You saved my son. That puts you under my family's protection regardless. But I won't pursue anything personal. And if I don't want nothing to do with you, hope bloomed in his expression, then we take it slow. I'd like to see you again. Take you to dinner, proper dates. Get to know you better. Let you get to know Seo-jun and me. No pressure, no expectations. Just possibility. Lana should have said no, should have protected herself, maintained boundaries, stayed in her safe, if unfulfilling life. But she kept seeing the way Hee-jun had held Seo-jun at the dock, like the boy was his entire world. Kept hearing Seo-jun's sleepy voice saying his daddy didn't smile like that usually. Kept feeling the pull of being seen as extraordinary instead of just a waitress marking time. Slow, she heard herself say. We take it really slow. And Hee-jun, if this gets too complicated, if your world puts me in danger, I walk away. Deal? Deal. His smile was brilliant, transforming his entire face. Thank you for giving this a chance, for being open to possibility. Don't make me regret it. I'll spend every day trying not to. Heejun drove her home himself that night, Taemin following in the other car. They talked the entire drive, easy conversation about music and favorite foods and childhood memories, learning each other in the small ways that mattered. I grew up with three brothers, Heejun said, all older. They treated me like their personal entertainment, wrestling practice dummy, video game opponent, target for endless teasing. I hated it then. Now I miss them every day. Where are they now? Two in Korea, running family business there. One died in a motorcycle accident 5 years ago. His voice went quiet. Losing people you love, it never gets easier. You just learn to carry it differently. They pulled up outside Lana's building, and Heejun actually got out to walk her to the door, despite the security concerns that probably made his team nervous. When can I see you again? He asked at her door. I know you work, and I don't want to disrupt your life. But Lana, I'd very much like to take you to a proper dinner, just the two of us. Friday, Lana suggested. I'm off at 6. We could do dinner then. Friday's perfect. I'll pick you up at 7. Or I could meet you somewhere. You don't have to keep sending cars. I know I don't have to. I want to. Let me do this, Lana. Let me show you that I'm serious about this. Okay, Friday, 7 p.m. Heejun smiled, and for a moment Lana thought he might kiss her. Instead, he took her hand, brought it to his lips, pressed a kiss to her knuckles that sent electricity straight through her. Thank you, he said softly, for tonight, for being so wonderful with Seo-jun, for giving me this chance. Thank you for dinner and for being honest about who you are. Always, with you, always honesty. Lana watched him drive away, then leaned against her door, heart racing. She'd just agreed to date a crime boss, a dangerous, complicated man with a dead wife and a 5-year-old son, and a world she barely understood. But when she closed her eyes, she saw the way he'd looked at Seo-jun, pure love, fierce protection, heard the pain in his voice when he talked about his late wife, felt the genuine warmth when he'd thanked her for reading to his son. Dangerous, yes. Complicated, absolutely. But also real, honest, and looking at her like she was something precious. Lana's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number that she somehow knew was Heejun. Made it home safely. Seo-jun woke up asking if you were real or if he'd dreamed the brave lady. Thank you for being real. HJ. She smiled despite herself, typing back, very real. Tell Seo-jun I'll see him again soon. The response came immediately. He'll be thrilled, as am I. Sleep well, Lana Morrison. She did sleep well that night, better than she had in months. And if her dreams were full of dark eyes and gentle smiles, and a little boy who called her extraordinary, well, that was nobody's business but her own. Friday arrived both too quickly and not fast enough. Lana had spent the intervening days in a strange fog, going through her cafe shifts on autopilot, fielding concerned questions from coworkers about the rescue, news had spread fast, and trying not to obsessively check her phone. June texted every day, not overwhelming, just present. Morning messages wishing her a good shift. Afternoon photos of Seo-jun's latest Lego creation or drawing he wanted you to see. Evening check-ins asking about her day, sharing small details about his. It was sweet. Surprisingly normal for a man who wasn't normal at all. Friday evening, Lana spent an embarrassing amount of time getting ready. She'd enlisted her coworker Maria's help, resulting in a shopping trip that had yielded a beautiful emerald green dress that made her brown skin glow and hugged her curves in ways that made her feel confident. Girl, that man is going to lose his mind, Maria had declared in the dressing room. You look gorgeous. Now waiting for 7 p.m., Lana studied herself in her tiny bathroom mirror and hoped Maria was right. Not that she was trying to drive Heejun crazy, just wanted to look nice for herself, obviously. At precisely 7 p.m., her phone buzzed. I'm downstairs, take your time. Lana grabbed her purse, did one final check, and headed down. Hi! June stood beside the car, not the SUV from before, but a sleek sedan, dressed in dark slacks and a dark blue button. Down that made his eyes seem even more intense. When he saw her, his entire expression transformed. Lana, you look stunning doesn't begin to cover it. Heat flooded her cheeks. Thank you. You clean up pretty nice yourself. He opened her door personally, and Lana caught the scent of his cologne, something warm and spicy that made her want to lean closer. I thought we'd go to a place in the International District. Small, intimate, amazing food. Unless you'd prefer somewhere else? That sounds perfect. The restaurant was indeed small, maybe 10 tables, family-run, the kind of place where regulars were greeted by name. June was clearly one of those regulars, ushered to a private corner table with warm efficiency. I've been coming here since I was a kid, he explained as they settled in. Mrs. Kim, the owner, taught my mother how to make proper kimchi jjigae. This place is like a second home. They ordered June guiding her through the menu, explaining dishes, making sure nothing was too spicy for her tolerance. And then they talked, really talked, about everything and nothing. Lana told him about growing up in Louisiana, about her brother's relentless teasing, about her grandmother who'd raised her to be strong and independent. June shared stories about Seoul, about his mother's gentle strength, about learning to run a business while barely old enough to legally drink. Minicio and I met at a community center, he said when Lana asked. She was volunteering, teaching English to new immigrants. I was there dropping off a donation. She had this laugh, bright and genuine, and I was completely gone the first time I heard it. How long were you married? 5 years. She died just before our anniversary. Pain flickered across his face. Car accident. Wrong place. Wrong time. Drunk driver ran a red light. She was gone before the ambulance arrived. I'm so sorry. CO? Jun was too young to really remember her, which kills me. I've tried so hard to keep her memory alive for him, to make sure he knows how much she loved him. But it's not the same as having her here. You're doing an amazing job. That boy adores you, and he clearly knows he's loved. He is. He's everything. June's expression softened. After Mincio died, I thought I'd never feel anything again. Never want to. It felt like betrayal to even consider moving forward. But then you saved him, and suddenly I was feeling things I thought had died with her. Hope, interest, possibility. His eyes met hers directly. Lana, I'm not trying to replace Mincio. I could never. But I also can't spend the rest of my life alone, raising my son in isolation, closing off the possibility of connection. Is that what this is? A connection? I hope so. I'd like it to be. He reached across the table, took her hand. Tell me if I'm moving too fast. Tell me if this is too much. Lana looked at their joined hands, his large and warm, hers fitting perfectly. It's not too much. It's just new. I haven't dated seriously in years, haven't let myself be vulnerable like this. Then we'll be vulnerable together, learn together, figure this out as we go. They stayed at the restaurant for hours, long after their plates were cleared, just talking, learning each other's rhythms, each other's stories, building something that felt both fragile and strong. When June finally drove her home, Lana felt both energized and exhausted, the good kind of tired that came from genuine connection. At her door, he walked her up again, despite the late hour. Can I see you tomorrow? He asked. SEO, Jun has been asking all week when you're visiting again. I thought maybe lunch, something casual, no pressure if you need space. Lunch sounds good. What time? Noon? I can pick you up, or if you prefer to drive yourself, you can pick me up. June, you don't have to be so careful with me. I'm not going to break. I know, but you're precious, and I'm trying very hard not to mess this up. Lana's heart melted completely. You're not messing up. You're doing everything right. This time, when June leaned in, Lana met him halfway. The kiss was soft, tentative, full of question and promise. His hands cupped her face gently, like she was something delicate, and Lana felt herself melt into it. When they broke apart, both breathing harder, June rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling for you, he whispered. Already? Is that crazy? Maybe, but I think I'm falling too. His smile was brilliant. Then let's be crazy together. The next 3 months passed in a blur of stolen moments and careful courting. June was deliberate about building their relationship. Proper dates interspersed with family time with Seo Jun, introducing her slowly to his world while being careful not to overwhelm her. Lana met his extended organization, the men who worked for him, who protected him, who became protective of her too once they understood she was important to their boss. Jin Ho became almost a friend, checking in on her, making sure she felt safe and respected. She learned the rhythms of Jun's life, the legitimate business meetings that filled his days, the harder conversations that happened after Seo Jun was asleep, the careful balance of building legal enterprises while slowly extricating himself from illegal operations. "It's taking time," he admitted one night, 3 months into their relationship. They were at his house, Seo Jun asleep upstairs, sitting on the couch with wine and conversation. "My father built this organization over decades. I can't just walk away without destabilizing everything, putting people at risk. But you're working toward it, getting out? For Seo Jun and for you. I want to build something he can be proud of, something that won't put either of you in danger." Jun pulled her close. "My lawyer thinks another year, maybe 2, and I can transition completely to legitimate operations. I can wait, if you're serious about this. I've never been more serious about anything except Seo Jun." He kissed her softly. "I love you, Lana Morrison. Completely, entirely." "I love you too," she whispered, and it was true. She'd fallen completely for this complicated, dangerous, gentle man who read bedtime stories and ran an empire with equal dedication. At 4 months, John asked her to move in. "Not because it's expected or because I'm trying to rush things," he said, nervous in a way she'd never seen him. "But because Seo Jun asks when you're coming home every night, you're not here. Because I sleep better when you're beside me. Because I want to build a life with you, and that starts with sharing space." Lana said yes. The transition was surprisingly easy. Her studio apartment fit into his house without crowding, and suddenly Lana had space, room to breathe, to create, to be. She enrolled in teaching certification classes, using the financial stability Jun provided to finally pursue the career she'd abandoned. Seo Jun was thrilled. "You live here now, forever. If that's okay with you. It's the best thing ever. Now you can read me stories every night and help with my homework, and teach me how to swim better so I'm never scared of water again." And Lana found herself sliding into a role she'd never expected. Not quite mother, but something close. Someone Seo Jun trusted and loved, who loved him fiercely in return. At 6 months, Jun proposed. They were at the dock where it all began, early morning, just the 3 of them. Seo Jun handed her a box with a ring, beautiful, elegant, clearly chosen with thought and care. "Marry me," Jun said simply. "Build a family with us. Let me spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. You already deserve me. And yes, absolutely yes." Seo Jun cheered, and Lana found herself crying and laughing simultaneously, being pulled into a group hug that felt like coming home. They married quietly 3 months later. Small ceremony, close family only, Seo Jun as ring bearer taking his job incredibly seriously. Lana's family flew in from Louisiana, initially skeptical of her businessman fiancé, but won over by his genuine love for their daughter and his devotion to Seo Jun. "He's good to you," Lana's mother whispered at the reception. "I see how he looks at you, like you hung the moon. Hold on to that, baby." "I will, Mama. I promise." Their first year of marriage was adjustment and joy in equal measure. Lana finished her teaching certification, got hired at Seo Jun's school teaching first grade. Jun continued transitioning his business, slowly but steadily moving toward complete legitimacy. And Seo Jun thrived, confident, happy, calling Lana Mom more and more frequently until it was just natural. Lana never tried to replace Seo, keeping her memory alive through stories and photos and the traditions she'd started, but she built her own relationship with the boy who'd somehow become her son. At their 1-year anniversary, Lana told Jun she was pregnant. His reaction was pure joy, lifting her up, spinning her carefully, laughing and crying simultaneously. "A baby? We're having a baby. Seojin's going to have a sibling. He's going to lose his mind. He's been asking for months when he could have a little brother or sister," they told Seo Jun together that night. The boy, now 7 years old, growing into his features, was ecstatic. I'm going to be a big brother. I can teach them everything, and protect them, and show them all my Legos. You're going to be an amazing big brother, Lana assured him, pulling him close. Their daughter was born 7 months later, healthy, beautiful, with Lana's skin and Hee Jun's eyes and a cry that could wake the entire house. They named